Hello Scorpio, and welcome to my channel Tarot by Gabrielle. This is going to be a general reading for Sun, Moon, Rising, and Venus signs, looking at your connection to the person that you are dealing with and needing to learn the most from right now. We are looking at all three sides of the connection. We've got your energy toward it, their energy toward it, and the energy in between it, the concept being that there are three sides to every story. So we're looking at your version of the truth, their version of the truth, and this higher level unbiased truth in the middle, really looking at what is the deeper purpose of this connection and what is the best way for you to move forward in order to align further with your higher self. As always, I've gone ahead and pulled the overall energy for the reading and clarified those messages, as well as the overall theme for the reading, which we'll jump into in just a second. But I do have a different tarot deck I'll be using for each side of this connection, as well as the advice deck I'll be using in the extended. Any information on the extended reading or on booking a personal reading with me is in the description box below. Last thing, please remember that these are general readings. They are not here to resonate fully for everyone, and they won't resonate fully for everyone. So do please remember to take what does resonate and helps your personal situation and leave what does not. On that note, these energies can be swapped. So if you resonate more with the energy to my right than to my left, just know that's totally fine and totally normal. Again, the point is to take what helps your situation and leave what doesn't. All right, Scorpio. On your side of this connection, you have destined soul ties with the Five of Wands. Okay, I'm going to be honest. I can't tell whether or not this is a past connection or one that's currently together. So take it as it resonates for you. Typically, because we're talking about the person that you're dealing with and needing to learn the most from right now, which isn't always the person you're currently or the people that you're currently connected with. So try to think a little outside of the box here, because this person has, or you have destined soul ties with the Five of Wands. I feel like you're very conflicted. Either are or were very conflicted when it comes to this connection, because with this destined soul ties card, first and foremost, this connection was meant to happen, and it was meant to happen the way that it did. And when you're dealing with a soul tie, you're usually dealing with a very strong, very intense connection. And sometimes the strength and intensity of the connection can cause you to overlook what's really going on, like how someone is really making you feel. I saw something the other day, and I've been actually mentioning this in quite a few of my readings because I think it's a really good way of putting this. And it said, you don't ever want to confuse the way that you feel about somebody with the way that they make you feel. Meaning that you can, someone can give you all the butterflies in the world and make you feel, that kind of like high when you're around them, but then, turn around and make you like feel not good enough, not lovable, not worthy, not deserving, or whatever the case is. And when that's the case, you have to look more at how the person is making you feel as opposed to how you feel about them. And I feel like that's where you're conflicted, is I feel like this connection does have a very strong pull. I feel like the intensity is there, but then at the same time, I feel like there's a cycle that's happening in this connection that isn't making you feel all that great about yourself. And so I do feel like there's a lot going on here, like when it comes to what's really going on with this connection. I don't feel like it's as simple as it might seem. Now, this person has overstepped boundaries with the Three of Pentacles. So this person's overstepped your boundaries, and they've been continuing to overstep your boundaries. And with the Three of Pentacles here, I feel like this is alluding to like partnership. True partnership, when you're dealing with any kind of relationship, but in particular romantic relationships, the healthiest ones are partnerships. And it's where both people give equally to the connection. Not all the time. Sometimes you're going to have more to give and they're going to have less to give, but then sometimes you're going to have less to give and they're going to have more to give. But in the end, it balances itself out. And that's where partnership really lies, when you know that you can lean on the other person and trust them and know that they're going to show up for you. And I feel like this person hasn't provided you with those partnership qualities in this connection. Now, it doesn't mean that they're not capable of it, or that it doesn't mean that there's no potential there, which might be why you're holding on, or like why you're so conflicted in the connection, is because you see like what this could be. But I definitely feel like this person doesn't really know how to be like a partner. And that's where the overstep boundaries come from, is they take more from you than they give, which does overstep your boundaries. And over time, that's going to start to drain you. Now, in between this connection, you have death and closure. So the way that I'm just seeing this is there is a cycle, like a pretty major cycle that needs to come to an end here. Either that, or this is a connection that has ended and you're looking for closure from it. Still feel like there's a cycle involved though. But I will say, I definitely feel like this could be a connection that's still happening. Like this doesn't just have to be about a connection that has ended. Now, the overall theme for the reading is past life. So I do feel like this is either a connection from your past or I guess, when you met this person, I feel like things seemed really easy, really simple. You could be yourself around them. You were able to open up, like the connection was strong and that soul tie was created, kind of earlier on in the connection. But then as maybe true colors started to come out or you started to face challenges with them, the not so great aspects of the connection started to come out. And now I feel like that's why you're conflicted. It's because you're like, well, there's so much good here, but there's also so much not so good. Ooh. Scorpio side of the connection to the person they are dealing with, clarifying destined soul ties. The 5 of Wands in reverse. Or 5 of Wands upright. I don't know why I said in reverse. Scorpio side of the connection to the person they are dealing with. Scorpio side of this connection to the person they are dealing with. This is for Scorpio side of this connection, please. Okay. This connection obviously isn't bad all the time, or else you wouldn't be conflicted at all, right? If it were just bad all the time, you'd be like, well, there's no point. But with the Hermit in reverse, this connection makes you feel very alone. And I feel like the Hermit in reverse with the Wheel of Fortune are very conflicting energies. It's like feeling very alone, feeling very withdrawn, and then, kind of good, positive energies happening for you. And I feel like that's where this confliction lies. And maybe you don't really know how to choose yourself in this connection because part of you is like, well, there is so much potential here that makes me feel like if I did walk away or if I did give up on this or if I did, whatever, distance myself from it, that I could lose out on that potential. And then in the end, that wouldn't be what's best for me. But then there's the other side of you that's like, well, with the Hermit in reverse, it feels like you are feeling very alone. And I feel like that comes from this lack of partnership. Like you don't feel like you have someone that you can really truly rely on a consistent basis. And I feel like that's why you're struggling to that's where a lot of the conflict is coming from, is because things are good sometimes, things are not so good sometimes, and that can be very confusing. Now, no connection is good all the time by any means, but the not so good times always have a purpose to lead to better times. That's one thing I've noticed from healthy connections is they're going to go through trial and tribulation periods, but on the other side of that, the connection always grows stronger and things always improve because of the trials and tribulations. If you feel like you're always in kind of these like painful moments with the connection and things aren't ever like actually growing or improving from the challenges that you're facing in this, then there might be more of a pattern than there is like it just being kind of a challenge. Because I do feel like right now you consider you and this person like in conflict. I don't feel like there's a whole lot of seeing eye to eye. Scorpio's side of the connection to the person they are dealing with. So you're lacking boundaries here. I was wondering, like, since I said 5 of Wands in reverse, if maybe there was like a message there. And the 5 of Wands in reverse can mean like experiencing conflict within, but keeping the peace by not speaking up, like trying to keep the peace by not speaking up about it. So like you feel like you're getting the short end of the stick. You don't feel like you're getting what you need out of the connection, but keeping it to yourself, maybe being a little passive aggressive, or maybe, just trying to suppress it all together because in a way you're trying to avoid creating any more conflict in the connection. But you're definitely experiencing conflict within. Whether or not that has manifested like in the connection is like you and this person in conflict, I'm not quite sure. But I definitely feel like you're very conflicted when it comes to the connection. But with the Seven of Wands in reverse, there's not a whole lot of standing up for yourself. Now, oftentimes we stop standing up for ourselves. We're either never taught how to, or we're never taught that we're deserving of standing up for ourselves and setting boundaries, or, you know, when we're dealing with a specific connection, maybe that connection has taught us that, like, when we set boundaries, there's no point because the other person doesn't really respect them. You know kind of what you're dealing with here, but I do definitely feel like there is a lack of, you know, setting boundaries, standing up for yourself, and maybe that's because of the intensity you feel in the connection, because I don't feel like you're one to typically lack boundaries, but for some reason in this connection, it's difficult for you to set them. Scorpio's side of the connection to the person that you're dealing with. Or maybe you do struggle with boundaries across the board, and this is just a lesson in that. See, okay. There is this part of you, like, you really want this to work out, because I feel like you see that if things could reach that potential that you see. That was the weirdest noise. If things could reach that potential that you see, I feel like you're like, I could be really happy, or we could be really happy. This connection could lead to a lot of really good things for both of us. And so I feel like you've spent so much time waiting on things to get to this Sun, and instead they got just kind of to this Five of Wands. It's like the opposite of the Sun in a way. And I feel like now maybe that's why you kind of need closure with what's really going on of some sort of cycle, because I feel like things did not go as you expected in this connection. It doesn't mean that, like, all hope is lost or anything like that. Like, that's not what I'm saying. Any two people can make anything work, as long as both people are willing to do the work to make it happen, to make it work. And I feel like the biggest thing you need to know is that this Sun, this happiness for you when it comes to love, is still very much possible. I just feel like you've spent so much time waiting on things to get to where it is you want, but like sacrificing your boundaries and being in a place of, you know, lacking joy and fulfillment in your relationship, out of hopes that things will eventually get to where, either because maybe they started as this Sun too. Like, not only did you see this potential of what this connection could be in the future, but like at one point things were, you know, really happy and really good, and then like over time it changed a little bit. But I don't feel like this Sun is currently in this connection. I feel like there's more conflict right now than there is like happiness. Yeah, but then, okay, so there's the Ace of Cups in reverse. I don't know if you're being totally honest with yourself about that. Like, it's almost like you're pushing aside how you feel for the sake of the connection. Scorpio's side of the connection to the person they are dealing with. Scorpio's side of this connection to the person they are dealing with. So Scorpio's side of the connection, please. Scorpio's side of the connection, please. So Scorpio's side of the connection to the ooh, gosh. See, I feel like either the pieces never fell into place or they fell apart. But then you have this Four of Wands in reverse and then the Three of Wands in reverse. I don't know if there was ever really like a stable foundation to build on. Almost like maybe there was more of a priority of chemistry over like trust in a way when it comes to this connection. Like, I'm not saying there wasn't chemistry. I do feel like this soul tie kind of energy created a strong pull to this person, but I almost feel like the chemistry was prioritized over the way that this person made you feel or makes you feel, which is feeling very alone, almost isolated in a way. Like you don't feel like you have a partner. You don't feel like you truly have someone to lean on here. Now maybe you did and that went away, or maybe you thought eventually things would get to that point, but they just never, they haven't progressed to that point. Scorpio's side of the connection to the person they are dealing with. Now, again, I'm not saying all hope is lost. I haven't even seen what this person's got going on. Scorpio's side of the connection to the person they are dealing with. Four of Cups with the Death. So your focus is on something else other than closing out this cycle here. Let me get more on this, because I feel like what really needs to happen, I mean, you have the Death as the truth. What really needs to happen is this cycle with this person, it's got to come to an end, because it's draining you. Like, it's affecting you on a pretty deep level here. I feel like you're afraid of what ending this cycle could mean for the relationship or the connection. Like, if I set a boundary, or if I stand up for myself and this other, this person doesn't respect it, and then the connection falls apart and comes to an end, then I'm going to have nothing. I'm going to have no one. I'm going to lose my opportunity to be loved or to have a partner. If there's anything that I've learned in my relationships of all forms, it's that anytime a boundary is set, if that boundary, now, you got to give the other person opportunity by setting the boundary, right? You've got to set the boundary. If you don't set the boundary, you never give them an opportunity. But if there's a boundary that is set and that boundary is dismissed or disregarded, or the person gets defensive in association with that boundary. Now, depending on how you set the boundary, if you set it with love, and if you say, this is what I need, I really want this connection to work, I care about you a lot, but this is really what I need, and I need you to step up, or I need you to show up for me, or I need you to be honest with me, or I need you to work on your vulnerability, or whatever the case is. You set the boundary, and the other person doesn't respect that boundary or do what they can to meet that boundary. That person, quite literally, that's the universe saying this person is not supposed to be in your life. Because the people who align with you and who you truly are the people who are willing to respect your boundaries. Now, setting boundaries comes with the fear of losing people, right? Because you're like, well, what if they don't respect the boundary and I end up alone forever? That's, first of all, that's your limiting beliefs. That's your fear of not having what it is that you need and love. Which is keeping you in places where your boundaries aren't respected, where your value isn't seen and respected. And so I feel like, you're focusing so much on the good in this connection, which isn't a bad thing. Like, yes, focusing on the good is always good, but we never want to focus on the good so much that we completely disregard how things really are. And you're at a place in this connection where you've got to make a decision. Am I going to choose myself, or am I going to continue to choose the connection and allow this connection to drain me? And I feel like either maybe you already have made that decision. Maybe that decision was made for you, and maybe this is just confirmation that things had to happen the way that they did. But I do definitely feel like the focus in this, especially if this is a past connection, is recognizing where the cycle was. How you allowed this person to overstep your boundaries, how you focused more on the connection over how, this person made you feel, Focus more on the potential over how things really were, so that you don't repeat this in future connections. Because a lot of times the most painful connections and the most painful situations that we're in, the point of those isn't just for us to suffer. Sometimes it can feel like that when it's really drawn out, but the point of it isn't just to have us suffer. It's to learn something. It's to grow in some way, shape, or form so that we can receive and attract better relationships in the future. But I just feel as if when it comes to this connection, the focus so much is on like either I don't want to lose this connection, or is so much on like the fact that the connection is lost, as opposed to trying to figure out what this is trying to teach you. And that's the best thing that you can face any situation, the best mindset you can face any situation with is, what is this trying to teach me? How is this trying to elevate my life so that I can receive and experience more than I've been able to this point? And it's a difficult perspective to have when you're going through it, but I just feel like that can be very beneficial for you right now, Scorpio. So Scorpio's side of the connection to the person they are dealing with. Scorpio's side of this connection to the person they are dealing with. This is for Scorpio's side of the connection. There's the Five of Wands. That was actually upright. Five of Wands with the Three of Wands. So you're having this conflict. You're conflicted when it comes to this connection. And the advice from the universe is to do what feels the most out of your comfort zone. Do what is different than what you've done before. That's the best way that we can change our life, is making different decisions, approaching situations with a different mindset, doing things differently. If you are repeating the same pattern in this connection of trying to just forgive and forget and move forward without any real resolution, and this connection just continues to, make you feel the way that it does, or, hurt you in the way that it does, or whatever the case is, and you continue to do the same things, the connection is never going to change. And so there's this need, and then if this is a past connection as well, focusing on when you move forward, what decisions did you make in this connection that you should make differently in future connections? Just making the decision, if you're feeling some sort of inner conflict that feels the most uncomfortable, probably the decision that holds the most fear, which is most likely setting boundaries, standing up for what it is that you deserve. Which isn't an easy thing to do by any means, but that is where, that's the only way we attract the love we're truly deserving of. When we heal the reasons we don't believe that we're deserving of the love that we desire, and then standing up and accepting absolutely nothing less than what provides us with the love that we desire. Choosing to invest in what it is over what the potential shows us to be. All right, this person's energy towards Scorpio, overstep boundaries with the Three of Pentacles. This person's got a weird energy. I just feel, I don't know. We'll see. This person's energy towards Scorpio. This person's energy toward Scorpio, please. This person's energy towards Scorpio. So there you are. Ooh. You pushed them to be vulnerable. And they didn't like that very much. There's the Emperor in reverse. So Queen of Cups, you showing up, whether you're male or female. Knight of Wands, 10 of Wands here. You pushed this person to be vulnerable, to show up like as their authentic self. But this person's used to control, and vulnerability within itself is lack of control. It's where we're putting ourselves out there saying, the ball is in your court. And that doesn't go Like, this person's need for control doesn't go hand in hand with you pushing them to be vulnerable. Now, they have, with the Ten of Wands, I feel like they have baggage from their past that contributes to this. I kind of want to do this. Yeah, that one. That one feels better. I don't feel like this is something that they mean to do. Like, I don't feel like they mean to, like, have this need for control. I feel like that's just their protection mechanism. This person's energy towards Scorpio, please. This person's energy toward Scorpio, please. I do feel like the soul tie here is pretty intense, though. You could be dealing with a fire sign. I guess you could be dealing with a water sign, too. I still feel like that was your energy, though. But fire sign energy, Sagittarius, Leo, or Aries. This person's actually pretty stuck on this connection. Because I feel like they want it to work. Like, they either wanted or want it to work. But I feel like they aren't doing the right things to make it work. Like, I don't know, they're like trying in the wrong ways or not really trying. I don't think that they're a bad person. I feel like this person's a little lost. And they're kind of doing the best they can to survive. And I feel like that kind of energy, like that, just doing what they can to survive, it comes with a lack of self-awareness. Because you go from trying to show up as the best version of yourself to trying to show up however you need to show up in order to stay safe. And I kind of feel like that's what happened here with this person. This person towards Scorpio. This person's energy towards Scorpio, please. See, there's that lack of foundation. It's like, and it comes with that, like, them not knowing how to be a partner, because I don't feel like you could trust them. I don't feel, and I'm not saying they're not not that they're not a trustworthy person. It's just, I feel like they messed up one too many times, or they, like, their true colors came out. I feel like this person really wanted to be, or really wants, like, this to work, but almost has absolutely no idea how to do that. And ultimately, I mean, the way that we can show up as our best self in our relationships is to heal our past wounds, our past traumas that keep us from being able to show up as our best self in relationships. But it doesn't feel like they're like I said, like, taking the action in the right way. It doesn't feel like they're doing any of that inner work, which is ultimately what really matters here. This person's energy towards Scorpio. This person's energy towards Scorpio, please. Yeah, because they didn't or don't fully recognize and appreciate and treat you as you deserve to be valued. Like recognize your value, appreciate your value, or treat you in alignment with your value. Now, try your hardest not to take that personally, because somebody's inability to see your value is their own thing going on. It means that they don't value themselves, they don't know how to give and receive love, they're overly critical of themselves, whatever the case might be. I'm not saying they're like critical of you or anything like that. It just feels like they're not able to show up for this connection in the way that you deserve because of like their own baggage, their own stuff that they have going on. Now you might be able to have empathy for that all day long and be like, yeah, I understand why this person is the way they are. They've had a tough past, like they've been through a lot, and so on and so forth. But you also have to understand that you need to love and have empathy for other people, absolutely. But you have to make sure you are giving that exact same love and empathy to yourself, that you're able to say, I see what this person has been through, and I have done my best to love them and show up for them in the way that I can, but now it's starting to affect me. And now I have to make sure I'm loving myself just as much as I'm loving this person, and make the best decision for me in this connection, which is setting a boundary, creating distance, whatever the case might be. This person's energy towards Scorpio. This person's energy towards Scorpio, please. This person's energy towards Scorpio, please. I feel like they struggle with confidence, inner confidence, feeling good enough. And that's why, because there's the Queen of Cups and the Knight of Wands. That's why they struggled with you pushing them to be vulnerable, because they feel like they already assumed that if you saw like who they really are, or like got to know them too well, they were like, you wouldn't like me, or you wouldn't love me the same way. So that's why I feel like they had this tendency to kind of keep you, and not just you, but like everyone else around them, at like this arm's length, at this distance, because it was easier for them to handle it in that sense. That's why they didn't want to be vulnerable. That's why they weren't able to show up as a partner, because partnership requires an equal level of vulnerability. But I feel like you were the one showing up as the vulnerable one, and then they were kind of pushing that away, pushing you away. Now, they didn't want to do that, but again, I feel like they want something, they want this connection to work, they want this healthy connection that they have in mind, but then they haven't done the work to be able to have and sustain that connection. And if they're not willing to be vulnerable, then that means that they haven't, like, what's the best way to say that? Like, if they're not able to be vulnerable, they're not going to be able to love you in the way that you are deserving of. And maybe you know that. And maybe that's what the most frustrating thing is you're like, if this person could just be vulnerable, or if they could just show up in this, be a partner, then like this could be so good. But you could say that about anyone that you have a connection with. I just feel like the intensity of this connection is almost like blinding you from being able to see how things really are. And there's a need to be a little bit more like honest with yourself and understand like, okay, yes, I have a strong connection to this person. This person means a lot to me, like whatever the case is. But is this person capable of providing me with the love that I am providing? Or is this person capable of providing me with the love that I'm deserving of? And if the answer is no, then you've got to adjust the way that you're approaching this, because if you don't, then things aren't going to change. And we can't take other people's limits personally. People can only show up to the extent, to where they are today. They can only love us to the extent they love themselves. They can only show up for us to the extent they do those things, same things for themselves. And this person isn't doing those things for themselves right now. And you cannot push them into doing those things for themselves. You have to be willing to, we have to be willing to accept people as they are and then make our decisions accordingly. And I feel like this person has absolutely showed you who they are, and now you have to do what is best for you. Again, set a boundary. Be honest about how you feel. You got to give them the opportunity to rise to it. But if you do provide that opportunity and then they don't respond well, then that's kind of your sign. This person's energy towards Scorpio, and I kind of feel like that goes for like all of your relationships. Like this doesn't just feel like this is necessarily a dynamic just between you and this person. This person's energy towards Scorpio, please. This person's energy towards Scorpio, please. They're stuck in a karmic cycle here that's keeping them from being able to have the new beginning that I feel like you're wanting. Can I get this Wheel of Fortune in reverse? And I feel like I know what it is. Like if I see like the Five of Swords or like the Knight of Wands in reverse, clarifying this karmic cycle. I mean, that one too, it's running. They're in a cycle of running from love. And if they continue to run, they're going to continue to be in this position where they're like upset that, their connection isn't working, or that the other person is disappointed, wondering like why they're not good enough, when in reality it has nothing to do with them not being good enough. It's the fact that they don't think they're good enough, which keeps them from being able to show up in a connection as their best self. So they're stuck in this karmic cycle of running, and that is not something that's not a karmic cycle you can break. We cannot break other people's karmic cycles for them. They have to be willing to do that themselves. And as of right now, this person isn't. You have closure with the Death. We're going to hop on over to the extend. I'm going to pull 9 different messages looking at what is the deeper purpose of this connection and what is the best way for you to move forward in order to align further with your higher self. Thank you so much, Scorpio, as always, for your support of my channel. I do hope that this reading helped and resonated with you in a way that you were needing today. And as always, Scorpio, I wish you absolutely nothing but love and healing on your journey moving forward. All right. Bye, Scorpio.